This is the
We
Got
It
It
podcast.
podcast. And we are so grateful that you're here with us. The We Got It podcast is an official podcast of Spartans Illustrated, as those of you who've been listening for a while are probably well aware. And we are just so grateful to partner with an organization that does such a great job of covering really all of MSU athletics. And, we really strive to be kind of your one-stop shop for all things MSU sports, especially football, basketball. Those are kind of our one or two true loves, I guess, when it comes to Spartan athletics. But really, I think it can be kind of overwhelming in the sports world to have to spend like hours a week just keeping up on things. So we hope that you can tune in for 30, 45, sometimes an hour long episodes, and really kind of get everything that you're looking for, hopefully in a way that kind of teaches you something new, even if you've been around for a while, but also isn't too like heady and academic if you are a new fan or like just kind of getting into sports. So, little spiel is over. Actually, just kidding. It's not. If you haven't yet, be sure to subscribe, follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, YouTube, really anywhere that you can get your podcasts. And if you want to, give us a nice little review. That helps our little podcast get out to more and more Michigan State fans and just kind of welcome them into the family of Michigan State sports. Whew. Jonah, what did I miss?
No, I think you covered all of the important things. I think
we
can wrap it up.
This is my beautiful, wonderful, gorgeous, amazing co-host, Jonah Wilson, my husband. I am your other co-host, Abby Wilson. And yeah, we're happy to be here with you. Thanks for putting up with the chaos. Last week we were like really hopeful that we were going to be coming at you with like this really nice new sound setup. And technology has been our absolute enemy for the last couple of weeks. I hope and pray we actually got it figured out this week. We may or may not have spent hours figuring this out. So we would love any feedback on the sound setup and what you think of it.
Totally. Well, let's get into it.
Yeah, enough housekeeping.
Yes.
There's been a lot going on in Michigan State world. We were all up way too late.
Yes, we were.
Saturday night into Sunday morning, very sleep deprived. And honestly, not super upset about the outcome of that game.
Yeah, I mean, I can kind of see it both ways.
Yeah.
I think...
I should say personally, I am not super upset.
I think the game went about exactly how I think a lot of us saw it coming. I think coming out of the first three games, I don't think really anybody expected Michigan State to really be able to stop USC's offense.
Right.
And that was really the case on Sunday morning when this game took place. Granted, the Spartan offense held their own. Aiden Chiles had another great game, nearly 300 total yards, 4 touchdowns. Was in this game into the fourth quarter, which is kind of a little bit more than I was expecting. But overall, like, this team is kind of who we have thought they were after 3 weeks of the season.
Yeah. So in talking about this game, I want to do like a nice little sandwich in our episode today. We're gonna start with a couple little positives. We're gonna go to some, maybe some negatives, things that we can learn, and then we're gonna come back to some positives again. So just briefly, starting with some positives. I don't think I'm mistaken in that in the last 2 games that USC played, they averaged 55 points. Is that correct?
They averaged, the last 3 games, 55 points.
So, held them to 45. That's 10 less.
We could say it's a positive.
I'm taking that as a positive. I mean, quite honestly, like I'm taking that as a positive. In my mind, I thought that this game would be running up 50s, 60s, quite frankly,
Fair
with
enough.
how our defense looked in the first 3 games of the season. Other positive, I was very negative about this, right? The spread for this game was 19.5.
19.5.
It jumped from 17.5 to 19.5 after we found out that Nick Marsh and Mekhi Frazier could play, which doesn't make sense, but whatever. I was very negative. I was like, 23.5 seems like what I would expect. Jonah, of course, I think you said it should have been right around what
about
it was.
2 scores, about 14.
Yeah. So I'm also taking that as a positive, 100%.
As you're saying these positives, I'm just realizing how low the bar is.
Yeah, the bar is. We're not going to talk about where the bar is right now, but we're trying to keep the semblance of like a nice little
Wait,
sandwich.
I love your optimism and just trying to somehow spin allowing 45 points as a
Okay, so
positive.
we're gonna get away from the fake positives and get into more of the negatives. We'll bring it back. Hopefully, land the plane somewhere positive. And we're gonna frame these negative things or potential negative things in a like, what did we learn from this game? So we're gonna focus on maybe the things that we learned about this team that we're not like super hopeful about, and just like this might be where it is.
Yeah, I think, and I would say I think maybe we didn't learn, but solidified that
Yeah.
this defense is really going to struggle. It seems this year. I think there is a world where you could spin it after those first 3 games. Great defense performance against Western, made some great adjustments in the second half against Boston College, and then maybe a letdown game versus Youngstown State.
Yeah, you could justify it before.
You could maybe spin it in your head if you're crazy like me. But after watching that game against USC, when USC was out 2 of their wide receivers, Michigan State only getting really stops on 2 drives in that whole entire game, a turnover on downs in the first half, and then a fumble recovery in the second half. And
that's not great.
There were some signs at some moments where there were several times where they got USC in the 3rd and longs, or even forcing them to go for it on 4th down. And especially late in that second half, when they really had fought back to get into that game, they couldn't get those stops. The thing that was kind of really concerning to me, that wasn't a concern at all really in the first 3 games, was the run defense. I think USC ran for almost 300 yards, where the first 3 games combined, they had allowed 192 total. So that's
Yikes.
a major concern.
Uh-huh.
Now, granted, I mean, they were still getting gashed, but in the first half, they lost Jordan Hall, who's their best defender, on the second drive.
Yeah.
Then,
brutal.
On all the same drive, they lost Wayne Matthews, they lost Nakai Martinez, and Quindarius Dunnigan. And I think there's a world you could say that those are Michigan State's 4 best defenders.
Yes.
And 4 guys that they cannot afford to have off the field.
And 2, like, not even just best defenders, but I would argue best leaders on defense. I mean, there's a reason why Hall had that green sticker on the back of his helmet. And there's a reason why that green sticker got put on the back of Wayne Matthews' helmet. And we lost both of them. And then you also lose 2 of your other big leaders on the field.
Dunnigan is also a captain on this team. Nakai Martinez is a very experienced player who they were happy to get back last week versus Youngstown State. And I don't know, in some ways it felt like the team started to fight a little bit harder once those guys were gone. But it does just feel like at this point, and I think there's a lot of areas you could point the blame, and I think pretty much all of them are justified to an extent. But I think at the end of the day, there is just a talent deficit of guys who can make game-changing plays, who can beat their man, can shed blocks, can cover their guy. And granted, USC is probably going to be one of the top 2 offenses that Michigan State will face this year. So, like, maybe there's a silver lining, like they won't have to deal with an offense like this.
Well, and to play, too, maybe not necessarily devil's advocate, but crazy optimist's advocate. Like you're saying in the past few games, like there's maybe a way that you can spin that maybe the defense wasn't so terrible. I mean, for really going out on a limb here, like we could also spin this game of like, oh yeah, Hall went out on the second drive, like there's a way you can spin it, but also like, and this maybe leads us to our next section, and maybe I'm jumping to this too soon, so let me know if I am, but with the negative sandwich is just the injuries and the lack of depth that this team has, especially when it comes to offensive line, defensive line, secondary. I mean, our whole defense, and then the offensive line. I mean, we don't know when Wayne Matthews is coming back. The good thing, it seems like it was just a very scary experience. And I think I saw a lot of people on social media channels being like, why are we making 18, 22-year-old kids play at what is 11 p.m. for them? Like, your brain's not functioning. You're not making good decisions. Like, just the networks are insane. NCAA, like, please do something about this. Like, you're actually putting kids' health and lives at risk for money. And I know we're doing that as a sport. Like, there is, I'm not negligent to that. I'm not unaware of that. Like, football is a brutal physical sport. And I know that a lot of these families, these players, these athletes, like, know that they're risking this. But there's also a sense of like, can we put some like safety barriers, right? You're doing all these things you see in the NFL now that, they've got the extra padded helmets. Like, there's all these safety measures that are going into place, but as soon as, the big networks start waving money around, all that goes out the window and we're making kids play at 11 p.m. Like, that's a whole other thing, right?
And there's just a whole lot of hypocrisy with it too,
Yes.
because teams are not allowed to practice after 10 p.m. Local time.
Yeah,
but
that's
when
wild.
money comes into play and the networks come calling, oh yeah, we can put these guys out on a cross-country trip. Hey, we're putting them at 11.
That's an excellent point. It's an excellent point.
And it just shows you, just how hypocritical the NCAA is and how much, like, literally all they care about is lining their pockets and making the TV networks happy.
Which is, the age-old story. But, so going back to Wayne Matthews going down, I mean, just already like a terrifying moment. We're really grateful. I think we've been able to hear, like, at the sidelines, he was in a neck brace, Quindarius and Nakai were able to like say hi to him before he got in the ambulance. And then he did actually fly back with the team, which to me is a really encouraging sign. Like, a medical facility hospital is not going to release you to travel, especially by plane, if they aren't, like, in my limited understanding of medical things, like, they're not going to let you do that if they're concerned about it at all. And I think a lot of the times why those things look so scary on the field is if there is like any concern that there could even be like the slightest possibility of a spinal injury. Like, there's so many precautions in place that, like, they are going to take them out on a board. They're going to be doing stable spine precautions. You know what I mean? Like, they're going to be doing all those things. All that to say, will there really be a difference in the defense next week if everyone is healthy, if Jordan Hall doesn't go out on a targeting call? Like, who knows?
Yeah.
It's not looking good at this point, I would say. Is that fair?
No, I think that's very fair. I think, especially in that Youngstown State game last week, a couple of the big plays that they got seemed like to be like misalignments, miscommunications, and this game against USC like wasn't some of that.
Right.
It was just they got
purely outplayed.
beat.
Yeah.
They weren't getting a push at the line of scrimmage. They were providing a lot of cushion for receivers to be able to make plays.
Yeah. Not plugging up holes.
It wasn't a ton of like
through.
30, 40, 50-yard plays. It was just like kind of a constant barrage of
8 to 12-yard plays.
12 to 15-yard plays. And that is just so taxing.
Oh,
100%. When USC, who's kind of used to having quick drives where they're scoring in 3-4 plays.
Right.
We're
so
having
long throws.
7, 8, 9-yard drives, which keeping that defense on the field, just like getting beat physically, mentally. And, so honestly, if I think about, obviously they're coming to a bye week, so they have 2 weeks to maybe kind of regroup, watch film, see what can be done. But I don't have the answers as far as what they can do, because it seems like, they just got flat out, I think, beat on the defensive side of the ball. And good thing I'm not getting paid $2 million to coach this team, because I wouldn't know what to do. And hopefully Joe Rossi can kind of earn that paycheck and make some adjustments.
Yeah.
That way there's just not so much pressure on the offense where they have to come away with scores. on every drive. Like
Yeah.
you need to be able to have at least a couple stops each half, and the Spartans were able to only get one each
Yeah.
half. And I thought before this game that if Michigan State was going to win this game,
Mm-hmm.
they were going to have to get some breaks. And I was
Mm-hmm.
thinking if they could get the turnover margin at +2, then they would maybe have a shot. And they got that turnover second half, made it a 7-point game.
And they capitalized on it.
Exactly. They were looking like maybe they were going to get off the field a couple times on USC's next drive to have a chance to tie it up. And they just couldn't get that second break. And I'm not saying that, if we just had a break, we would have been fine, like an excuse. But I think with just the talent.
No, you're just saying like we would have had a better shot.
Like that is the margin of error for Michigan State, is there's no margin of error. And in a game like this, they had to be able to get some breaks in order to win this game. And they just weren't able to get those. Yeah.
And maybe this is getting into the weeds and getting too nitpicky about this, but I've been saying it since Western Michigan, since game opener, that our defensive line, and I know we're not throwing a lot of blitzes out there, but we are getting like absolutely no pressure on opposing teams' quarterbacks. And when you can establish the run game, you can establish the pass game. When you can establish the pass game, you can establish the run game. Like when you are not ever putting any pressure or like real threat in the backfield, like teams can do whatever they want. This team has had 6 sacks on the season in 4 games. And those sacks came, right, 4 of them against
Western Michigan,
and 2 of them against Youngstown State. There were only 2 like hurries on the quarterback against Boston College, and I don't know the stats from last night, but I'm guessing that they're not much prettier than that. Like that to me is what is very deeply concerning about the defense, is just if you have all day to make decisions behind your own O-line, like, yeah, you're going to be able to do whatever you want on offense.
And I think they were able to survive, especially in the second half against Boston College, allowing kind of consistently 6 or 8 yards through the air.
Yeah.
It's because they were stuffing the run
game
and forcing 3rd and 10, 3rd and 11. That way on 3rd down, you can kind of allow 6 to 8 yards and still get off the field.
Right.
But when USC is just running all over the defense, like granted, they had their starting Mike linebacker, Jordan Hall, out for pretty much the whole game.
Right. Yeah.
His backup, Brady Pretzlav, was out already for that game. And you get Wayne Matthews out. Maybe we would have been able to see better adjustments in the second half.
Right, but I'm saying like this is a theme now. Like just like what you were saying. So now you're being the optimist advocate over there. Like this is a theme. It didn't even matter that we had different personnel out last night. Like we consistently have not been able to get any pressure in the backfield. Anyway, at risk of, just whipping the Michigan State defense some more. Let's maybe shift anything that we want to think about. Like, what did we learn or solidify about maybe offense that was like less than pretty in the matchup against USC? And then we'll turn quickly to some positives.
Yeah, I think what Michigan State needed to be able to do is to establish the run early, allow to have long drives, keeping the USC offense off the field and opening up things for Aiden Chiles. And they weren't really able to get the run game established really until the second half. And it just resulted in some quick drives for Michigan State that gave the ball right back to USC and that allowed them to score.
Which, like, some of those drives were great. They resulted in touchdowns, beautiful dime passes from Aiden Chiles. But in a way, when your defense has had to be on the field for so long, like you almost want your offense out there a little bit longer. I mean, yes, we want the points, like absolutely. But you can just see how that made such a poor scenario for everyone all around.
And I think, too, especially in that first half, they had that drive inside the 10-yard line. We're only able to get a field goal. In this game, they were going to have to get touchdowns.
Yeah, capitalize on every single opportunity.
For the most part, they did well. I think they were 4 for 5 in the red zone on getting touchdowns. But in this game, they had to be 100%.
Yeah.
And they weren't. They got that forced a field goal on USC's first drive. It seemed like the game plan was kind of working the way that you kind of thought needed to happen for a pathway for Michigan State to win. And then you had some drives stall out quickly. And then they obviously after that couldn't really force USC to field goals or getting off the field.
Right.
And it was just an uphill battle all night for this offense. And pretty quickly into this game, it was like, okay, the offense literally has to be perfect. They have to score touchdowns on every single drive. And that's just not sustainable. That's not fair for an offense that they have to expect to be perfect every single drive in order to win games. And that, end result is kind of what we saw. We saw a competent offense capable of making things happen, scoring 31 points, never giving up against a defense that just couldn't get off the field and just seems to be outmatched kind of on a weekly basis.
Yeah. I think that's pretty fair. So we're going to end our little, I don't even know if it's a sandwich at this point. It's just kind of a salad. Everything's just mixed in. We're not really sure what's good, what's bad. It's there. Just and there. You have to eat it because it's what's for lunch. Okay, well, we're going to try to pick out the good bits now. And I think one of those, you mentioned at the top of the episode, which is just Aiden Chiles' arm. I mean, what'd you say he threw for, again, almost 300 yards?
Yeah, I mean, if you add, he had almost 300 total yards between passing and running. He had 4 touchdowns on the night.
Yeah.
He had no turnovers. And, he is the quarterback you want at Michigan State. And I've been saying this kind of all season is he's never going to be the most accurate quarterback.
Yeah.
He's going to miss a handful of throws every game. And I think that's just kind of what we have to expect at this point.
But he's also going to have some explosive moments.
Yes.
And I think that makes up for it in some ways.
I'd agree. And I think those high highs that you see from Chiles when he's dropping a perfect pass to McCray on the run for a touchdown on the opening drive,
gosh.
Or dropping a perfect
pass to
Omari Kelly. Ball to Omari Kelly in the fourth quarter. Like those are the kind of plays, getting hit at the goal line, spinning around, running into the end zone. Like those are the plays that he is making week in and week out. And now I think through 4 weeks, he's got 11 total touchdowns, almost 900 passing yards, 1 interception that I'm not even going to fault him for.
Yeah.
And a lot of plays on his feet. And he's a real good quarterback. And it's just unfortunate that he has to
have to be perfect
in order for them to win against these quality opponents.
Yes.
And there's going to be a lot of more quality opponents on the schedule. I don't think there's another team quite like USC, at least schematically.
Yeah.
On this schedule, but also there's going to be some good teams. Michigan just almost ran the ball for 300 yards against Nebraska. Penn State is really good. Maryland's looked better than their schedule.
Indiana just ran up 63 points on number 9 Illinois, which they should not be number 9. What's going on here?
But they beat them 63-10, so they look like a wagon. So there is some great teams still on this schedule, and they're going to have to figure out how they can get stops on defense.
We're going to pick out a couple more positive, nice, yummy things from that game. And part of that is, Aiden Chiles' success is a lot of he's surrounding himself with. And I think we just continue to see consistent, great performances, especially across these last couple of games from Nick Marsh and Omari Kelly. I mean, Omari Kelly with that super fun trick play last night. They tried to run the second one. That one didn't go quite so hot. You're not really supposed to throw it at Aiden Chiles' feet, but it's okay. We're gonna forgive him for that. But no, I mean, just Aiden throws dimes because those guys are burning past their defenders and getting open and pivoting and figuring things out. And so I think that's just another big positive. And I think that's what's just what feels kind of sad about the state of the defense at this point in the season is like there are some really incredible, explosive offensive players, and you just almost feel bad for them because, again, there's that pressure that they have to be perfect in order for the Spartans to get a win.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think that's kind of how a lot of us feel after this game and 4 games into the season. But they get a bye week now, hopefully to rest, get healthy, and to figure out some things on the defensive side of the ball. That's all we can really, really hope for. Just need to see improvement all across the board on the defense.
Yeah. And I think, the bacon bits that top this salad that, maybe get overlooked a little bit, but really are like just so important to the integrity. Ryan Eckley. I mean, just once again, like the kid does not miss. Ryan, we love you. Again, please don't go anywhere. We're sorry that you keep getting put in these terrible situations. But in some ways, it's allowing you to just show off really how fantastic you are. So thank you.
I just wish we would see less of him.
Not because we don't love you.
Right.
We just, unless he wants to start kicking more field goals, I'd give the kid another shot at that. That's maybe not like a 56-yarder or whatever. Yeah. All right. I think that kind of wraps it up. We could keep blabbing for a long time, obviously, about this.
Yeah, and we'll look ahead at the Nebraska game next week on our episode. We'll kind of just end our coverage of the football team there for now.
Just enjoy our bye week, not having to stay up till the ungodly hours of the early morning to watch football. We're going to, maybe have our cortisol levels come down a little bit. Our enjoyment of our weekend maybe go up a little bit. A little bit. But we'll be back with just probably kind of a brief mini episode next week. Just kind of covering, hopefully, maybe some positive news from injury reports. And then looking forward to the Nebraska matchup, which I'm sure is going to be another doozy. We are going to jump over to halftime, which is where we update you on the goings-ons of the rest of Spartan Athletics. Women's volleyball continues to be off to an incredible start. I think last time we talked to you all, I think they were 7-0. They have now just picked up 2 more wins on the road to go 10-0 before they head into conference play against the Golden Gophers of Minnesota. The girls will take them on Thursday night, so definitely be sure to tune into that. I'm really excited to see where they go this season.
And the men's tennis team has begun their fall season as they were out in California as well this past week at the Battle of the Bay. Star Ozen Barris ended up getting runner-up on the weekend, as well as earning Big Ten Player of the Week.
Very impressive.
And this weekend, they are in Tulsa, Oklahoma for the ITA
All-American pre-qualifiers.
Pre-qualifiers. And so far, as of recording, they have picked up 4 singles wins as well as a doubles victory over number 4 Virginia.
Yeah, absolutely. The women's soccer team is also rolling into their season. The girls have started conference play with ties against both Rutgers and most recently UCLA on Thursday night. I believe so far in the season, both conference and non-conference, I want to say they're like 3, 2, and 4, I believe. I think I have that right. They now, probably at the time of recording, are actively playing once again, the USC Trojans at home, and they are the defending Big Ten champs. So big game, I think, for the girls to really show off where they're at with this season, where Jeff Hostler is taking them. Obviously, they have had some pretty impressive showings in the last couple of seasons. So be sure to stay tuned to our podcast. Also, the Spartans Illustrated new app and website has a beautiful channel that kind of keeps you up to date on other MSU sports game results, what to look for. So if we're not getting things out to you fast enough, be sure to head over to Spartans Illustrated, subscribe. You can get into those awesome channels. There's a bunch of different great ones for game day chats, football, basketball, recruiting, inside news. I mean, there's just so many great things to really kind of stay up to date if we're not meeting all of your needs with the We Got It podcast over here. All right. let's dive into Spartan Seminar.
Yeah,
Which
love
is
it.
our next and final segment of this episode. We have been going through kind of position by position in football, just kind of breaking down either like new terminology or terminology you might hear but not really understand, or like weird penalties that sometimes get associated with one specific position. And we're taking it position by position really to just kind of help make it more cohesive. I think sometimes if you just like, for me at least, if I learn random facts, especially keeping things straight between college football and NFL, it just is like, wait, which one is which and what am I supposed to remember? So hopefully we're giving you some, hooks to hang your hat on with these things. So one thing that came up this week, and we are going to focus our discussion on the receiver room or our wide receivers. One thing that came up this week that I was thinking about is like, okay, you hear all these different terms. You hear like receiver number 1, receiver number 2, receiver number 3. But then you also hear like X receiver, Y receiver, Z receiver. And so Jonah is here to help me break down, are these two things related? Do they mean the same thing? Are they not related at all? I don't know. Tell us.
Yeah. So there's definitely a lot of terminology associated with the wide receiver position. Already, like you mentioned, kind of like the numerical breakdown of them. It's kind of just like how you would break down. It's not really like an official term, more just like a depth chart kind of piece.
So kind of like best, or maybe most playing time. We should put it that way. Like most playing time, probably like star wide receiver is going to be your number 1 receiver. Right.
But then the letter denomination that you mentioned kind of has to do specifically with what their role is as a wide receiver.
Okay.
So you mentioned X, Y, and Z. So that X wide receiver is most likely going to be your wide receiver number 1, your star wide receiver. They're usually going to line up on the line of scrimmage wide of the offensive line, either to the left or to the right. If they are on the like kind of big side of the field,
wide side,
that is the on field side. And then if they're on the short side of the field, it's kind of boundary side.
Okay. So when you say wide and short, we're thinking about, depending on where the ball gets spotted, you could be on the left hash mark or the right hash mark running down the middle of the field. So you're going to have less room to run, to receive the ball, to run if you are the boundary receiver, right? Versus having more space to maneuver if you are the field receiver on that wide space side.
Yeah. And as far as like the kind of routes they can run, I mean, it kind of just depends on the skill of the receiver and the offense that is being run. But yeah, like I said, that X wide receiver lining up wide on the line of scrimmage is typically what you would call your X wide receiver.
Okay.
Now, your Y wide receiver is a little bit different.
Am I the only one that's just confused because it's like already wide, like X wide, Y wide? It just sounds, sorry. It's just mentally like, what am I listening to right now? Okay, keep going.
But the Y wide receiver is also a lot of times going to be called your slot wide receiver.
Okay.
And they're going to be lining up usually probably on the line of scrimmage, but a lot closer to the offensive line.
So they're in the slot between your offensive tackle and your W wide receiver.
X wide receiver.
Wide receiver.
Yes.
I'm getting it. This is why we do this, guys. Okay, so he's in that slot.
Yeah, and they're typically, now this is more just a rule, but not necessarily like
it's a guideline.
Accurate, yeah.
It's a guideline.
Yeah, a guideline, not a rule. But they're typically maybe going to be a little bit of a smaller wide receiver, faster, and a lot of their routes are going to be kind
through
of
those slots.
Underneath zones, over the middle of the field, kind of, making sure that middle of the defense is staying honest.
Are you ever going to have a tight end that's essentially the Y?
Yeah,
receiver?
Definitely. In two wide receiver personnel, your tight end.
So they might be small and sneaky, or they might be big and beefy.
Yeah, so it really depends. But they're really, guys, you're going to kind of have a lot with those underneath kind of crossing routes over the middle.
A little bit closer to the line of scrimmage, just kind of behind versus like these big downfield runs. Okay, so that's X. That's Y.
And then you have your Z receiver.
Okay.
And your Z receiver is going to be also, obviously, wide receivers are always outside the offensive line. But usually your Z receiver is going to be off the line of scrimmage.
Like a step back.
Yeah.
Because you can only have so many offensive players on the line of scrimmage.
7 players on the line of scrimmage. And then 4 in the backfield. And what this receiver is able to do with being off the line of scrimmage is have some of that pre-snap motion.
They can move.
So they can kind of help read defenses, change matchups. You also have some of that jet motion where maybe they could get a direct
that's what I was literally
handoff
just going
or
to
a
ask.
toss. In that situation, we've seen Amari Kelly in that role.
I was literally just going to say that. I was like, I'm pretty sure I heard, maybe not last night, but at one game of it, like an announcer being like, oh, Amari Kelly with the jet motion. And I'm like, what the heck does that mean? But that's telling you he's the receiver that's behind the line of scrimmage who has the ability to make that pre-snap motion.
Right. Usually they're going to be maybe a little bit of a faster wide receiver, a fast receiver that can get past defenses. And we saw that in the fourth quarter against USC, was able to blow right by his man. But then with some of those trick plays, we saw him in motion with those wide receiver passes. So it really kind of gives the offense a lot of maybe potentially confusing looks while also trying to get a glimpse of maybe what kind of coverage a defense is in, whether they're in man or in a zone. You're trying to maybe switch a defender if, hey, you like the matchup with him better on the field side or the boundary side. So those are really the 3 kind of types of wide receivers that you'll see. And Michigan State wide receivers have kind of rotated throughout those positions. So you're not always going to see Nick Marsh in the X spot or Amari Kelly in the Z spot.
And just to clarify, right, it's not like, oh, your number 3 wide receiver's always going to be the Y receiver.
Right.
Or your number 1's always going to be the Z. Like that's more of, like you said, a depth chart and like who's probably going to be the biggest target most of the time.
Yeah.
Versus on this play, where are we setting guys up? What is the pre-snap formation so that we can run these different routes and those sorts of things?
Right. And really, the reason they kind of switch them around is just probably very game plan dependent on maybe different matchups. Hey, like we really think that Nick Marsh has a big advantage on this specific defender. So we're going to try to put him in situations where this defender is lined up against Nick Marsh or with another wide receiver.
Or even tying it back into, and maybe I'm going out on a limb here, but tying it back into our conversation the last couple of weeks about like an RPO, right? Run pass option. Like you might have more of the focus then on like your wide receiver, right? For like those little slot passes so that you have, right? Is that kind of fair to think about?
Yeah. I mean, within those RPOs, sometimes Chiles, if a wide receiver is running a route, he wants to see if there's that quick opening, maybe on a quick slant or on a quick bubble. We saw a lot of those week 1 against Western on some of those RPO bubble.
Is some of that RPO decision making even to like from the Z receiver, like the motion that they're picking up, or if any like a defender's following them or moving?
I mean it's all going to be dictated by what the quarterback decides to do, but all of that is information for Chiles to kind of
taking in all the pre-snap activity.
And if, that quick slant or that quick bubble isn't open, maybe that defense is in press coverage and they kind of crashing down, he's going to hand the ball off to Frazier or Tolis instead.
Yeah. Okay. See, this is so helpful for me in context. And this is why I love talking about these things, because there's so many terms that it's like you hear them and like I feel like I understand them, but actually being able to break them down and think about like, oh, yeah, these things go together because, your Z receiver is going to be in motion prior to the snap, or your Y receiver is going to be getting, that slot pass or those different things. That makes a lot of sense.
Totally. Well, hopefully that was just generally helpful. I think
helpful for me.
Maybe next weekend without Michigan State, just keep an eye out on some of those different formations, kind of where the wide receivers are lining up. Now,
especially
obviously, sometimes you might have
are going to do it differently.
4 wide receivers. You might have 3 wide receivers. You might have trips or bunch set where you got 3 wide receivers really clumped together. All of it is just different looks to try to take advantage of what a defense is doing in a game. And I think sometimes when you're watching that without like the emotional attachment of watching your team,
you can analyze.
You can kind of analyze that and be like, oh man, that was a really cool play design. And they used their Z receiver to
draw the defensive player and figure out if they're in man coverage or zone coverage,
Right.
right? Like picking up that information. If you enjoy Spartan Seminar or like are more of a visual person rather than an auditory listener like I am, head over to Spartans Illustrated. There are some awesome film breakdowns.
Mm-hmm.
They're a lot more in depth. We're trying to just give you kind of things like very briefly, but Chase Glasser just does a fantastic job. If you've been following in basketball season, you might see Andrew Talks Hoops on Twitter, Instagram, who does just a fantastic job breaking down film for basketball. I feel like Chase Glasser does such a great job specifically for Michigan State, breaking those things down, kind of showing just all different positions and using a lot of this terminology in context, slowed down. So definitely check that out if that's something that you're more interested in, or you're just wanting to like learn more about football in general or the Spartans specifically and what kind of things we're doing on offense and defense. I think it's super helpful.
Totally agree.
All right. I think that takes us to the end of this week's episode of the We Got It podcast. We're so grateful that you're here, even on weeks where we're not coming away with a W. There's probably going to be a few more of those this season. Yep. So we really appreciate you guys sticking around and being part of the Spartan community. If you haven't, this is your reminder again to head over to YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you are listening, to like, subscribe, leave a nice comment or a not so nice one. We'll take those too. You can always email us with feedback, fan questions, ideas for segments, things you want more or less of, at thewegotitpodcast@gmail.com. We would absolutely love to hear from you. And we just want to say thanks again for being so patient with us. We're just a couple of kids, both working full-time jobs, who enjoy yapping about Michigan State sports for fun and maybe get a little too perfectionistic about the sound setup. And then it opens a whole can of worms and we're dealing with technology issues for weeks and weeks and weeks.
Yep.
So thanks for your patience. Go green.
Go white.
Go state.